Windsor was supposed to witness elegance, unity, and royal calm. Instead, one unexpected arrival shattered the evening before the first toast was even raised. Princess Kate did not whisper, hesitate, or quietly withdraw into protocol. She stood, gathered herself, and walked out. And the silence that followed was not confusion, it was recognition. Everyone in that room understood that something far deeper than a gala had just broken open. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Catherine had entered that evening carrying the kind of composure people mistook for ease. William stayed close enough to read every small change in her expression, because he knew the Windsor Gala was never just a dinner. A gala, in royal life, meant a formal public evening, where rank, seating, and presence quietly told the world who mattered. This one had been arranged to show unity after weeks of private strain, and that was why every chair, every greeting, and every pause carried weight. Catherine was expected near the senior royal table beside William. Camilla was not part of the final seating plan. The room shifted before anyone admitted it. Camilla arrived with the calm of someone who believed the doors should open, because she had chosen to stand before them. The queen consort moved forward as if her place had always been waiting, but the approved guest list said otherwise. Catherine saw her immediately. Her face did not break. It hardened. Hurt moved across her eyes for only a second, but William caught it, and that second told him the arrival had landed exactly where it was meant to land. Camilla did not need to speak loudly to change the night. Her presence beside the senior table was enough. Catherine understood the message beneath the gesture. Not merely attendance, but challenge. The princess had endured whispers before, but this was different, because it happened in front of guests, aides, and family. William stepped toward her before the room could breathe, ready to shield her from the humiliation. Catherine lifted one hand slightly. That small gesture stopped him. She would not let the prince fight this battle while everyone watched her dignity being tested. Charles remained seated. The king looked toward Camilla, then toward Catherine, and for several seconds he said nothing. His silence became heavier than an order, because every aide nearby understood what it suggested. Camilla's entrance had bypassed the normal approval that protected such events from chaos. Charles knew the damage had already begun. William knew it too. Catherine made the only move left to her. She turned from the table, walked toward the side entrance, and left Windsor behind her. A courtier stepped close to William as the door closed and whispered the sentence that changed the meaning of the entire night. Camilla had not come alone in purpose, even if she came alone in appearance. But to understand why Catherine's exit felt like a royal earthquake, the story must first return to the people standing inside that glittering room, each carrying a different wound into the same dangerous night. Every royal crisis has a public face. This one had four. Catherine carried the burden of dignity. William carried the rage he could not show. Charles carried the exhaustion of a king trapped between loyalty and damage control. And Camilla carried the one thing no palace rule could disguise: the determination to prove she still belonged at the center. The gala did not create their conflict, it only exposed it. Catherine knew the evening mattered before she entered the room. Her presence at Windsor was not just personal, it carried public meaning, because she had become a symbol of steadiness when the monarchy needed warmth as much as power. The monarchy, in simple terms, is the royal system built around the king, his family, and the traditions that present them as a national institution. That was why Catherine's place beside William mattered. It told people that the future still looked calm, united, and trusted. William watched her from the first moments of the evening. The prince noticed how she smiled when required, paused when needed, and kept her shoulders steady even when the courtiers moved with strange caution around the room. Catherine saw it too. She understood nervous movement. She understood lowered voices. And she knew that when palace staff became too careful, something had already gone wrong behind the curtain. Camilla's absence from the official list had not been treated as an insult. It had been treated as a boundary. The queen consort was not being erased. She was being kept away from a situation already loaded with private strain. Charles had been warned earlier that any change to the gala seating could cut too deeply, because the senior table was not just a place to sit. It was a message about trust, rank, and family balance. The king accepted that warning, yet he did not know what was coming. Camilla entered with a smile that did not reach her eyes. She moved with controlled calm, but the tightness in her jaw betrayed the purpose beneath the polish. The queen consort was not arriving like a guest. She was arriving like someone determined to test whether the room still bent around her. Charles saw her and stiffened. William saw his father's reaction and understood at once that this had not been expected. A senior aide stepped forward with the instruction sheet in his hand. The aide knew the sheet carried more than names. It carried the approved order of the evening. Catherine was placed where Camilla now seemed to expect entry. When the queen consort asked to be shown to the front, the aide froze. That pause exposed everything. Catherine saw it. William saw it. Charles saw it too. Catherine's expression changed because the hesitation told her the truth. This was not confusion. This was pressure arriving in public form. The humiliation was not accidental, and once Catherine understood that, the path toward her shocking decision became painfully clear. Yet the Windsor Gala was not the first spark. The true beginning had happened days earlier, in a quieter room, with fewer witnesses, and a sentence Catherine never forgot. Before the gala doors opened, before Catherine stood from her chair, before William's anger became visible in the set of his shoulders, there had been one private moment that changed everything. It was not a public insult. It was worse. It was a controlled remark delivered in a polished voice, behind closed doors, where no cameras could soften it and no applause could bury it. Catherine had supported the Windsor Gala because she believed the family needed one evening where calm could be restored. William had agreed for the same reason, but the prince made one condition clear. The guest list could not become a weapon. Clarence House, the royal residence often used for private offices and household meetings, had hosted the planning discussion where final seating, arrivals, and senior positions were reviewed. That mattered because royal seating is never just furniture. It tells guests who holds trust, who carries influence, and who must be seen standing close to the future. Camilla understood that power better than anyone in the room. The queen consort entered the Clarence House meeting with careful grace, but she listened most closely when Catherine's place near the senior table was confirmed. A senior aide later described the moment in a private documented account prepared for Palace Review, stating that Camilla turned slightly and said, "Catherine must learn that visibility is not ownership." Then she asked whether the princess's central position could be reconsidered. The sentence cut deeper because it did not sound angry. It sounded planned. Camilla was not shouting for attention. She was questioning Catherine's right to stand where the public had already accepted her. The trusted staff member who later repeated the remark to Catherine did so quietly, away from open doors, and the princess did not answer at first. She simply looked down, gathered herself, and let the silence say what pride would not. She had been turned from family into a problem to be managed. William confronted the issue privately as soon as he learned enough to understand the danger. The prince asked whether the seating had been changed, whether Camilla had requested a new arrangement, and whether Catherine's position had been weakened without warning. The answer he received was too smooth. Nothing had been formally altered. Nothing had been finalized against her. Nothing, they said, required concern. But polished words can hide sharp edges, and William heard the missing truth inside every careful pause. Charles received a softer version. The king was told there had been discussion, not pressure, and that word choice protected everyone except Catherine. Discussion sounded harmless. Pressure would have demanded action. By the time the Windsor Gala began, she was not simply attending an event. She was walking into a room where she already suspected someone intended to test her place. And when Camilla crossed the threshold uninvited, the private remark from Clarence House suddenly became public humiliation dressed in royal velvet. There are moments in royal life when protocol becomes useless. No aide can step forward quickly enough. No smile can cover the fracture. No orchestra, toast, or polished speech can distract from the truth unfolding in plain sight. That was what happened when Catherine and Camilla faced each other across the Windsor floor. The room did not need an announcement. The confrontation was already speaking for itself. Camilla's arrival cut through the evening like a warning. Guests who had come expecting ceremony suddenly watched every movement with careful silence, because the Windsor Gala had been designed to show control after private tensions had begun to leak through palace walls. Protocol, in plain terms, means the formal rules of royal behavior that decide where people stand, where they sit, and how they are treated in public. But rules only work when everyone accepts them. Camilla had entered as if acceptance no longer mattered. Catherine sat near the senior table when the queen consort approached. That place mattered because it showed Catherine's role beside William, not only as his wife, but as the woman many saw as the future emotional center of the crown. The senior table meant the most important royal seating area, where placement quietly tells the room who carries influence. Camilla's movement toward that space created a conflict no one could politely hide. Catherine was not simply being interrupted. She was being challenged in front of people who understood exactly what position meant. Catherine rose slowly. The chair moved back just enough to make the room feel the decision before she spoke. Camilla greeted her with a measured smile, calm on the surface, sharp beneath it. The queen consort carried herself as though the evening could still bend around her arrival. Catherine looked at her and answered with only a few cold words, but those words made one thing clear. Politeness would not be used as a cover for humiliation. The princess had reached the edge of what dignity could quietly endure. William stepped in before the exchange turned dangerous. The prince moved close to Catherine first, then faced Camilla with controlled force. He told the queen consort in a low voice that the seating had been settled and would not be changed. Camilla held her expression, but the stiffness in her face betrayed the blow. William did not raise his voice. He did not need to. His restraint made the warning sharper. Charles watched from his place, and his stillness became impossible to ignore. The king was husband, father, monarch, and referee in one unbearable moment. If he defended Camilla too quickly, Catherine's pain would become public dismissal. If he defended Catherine too clearly, Camilla's arrival would become public defeat. So Charles waited, and that hesitation exposed the burden he feared most. Catherine understood the pause. William understood it too. The princess turned away from Camilla, walked past the senior table, and left the room with her dignity intact and the gala broken behind her. William did not follow at once. He looked at Charles, waiting to see whether the king would finally choose a side. But Charles's silence was not emptiness. It was calculation, fear, and the heavy knowledge that the next decision would decide who truly held control inside the monarchy. Power inside a palace rarely announces itself with thunder. Sometimes it appears in a pause, a hand that does not rise, a sentence that is not spoken, a chair that remains occupied while everyone else waits. After Catherine left, the Windsor Gala became a test of authority, and for Charles, the most dangerous question was no longer why Camilla had arrived. It was whether he still had the strength to stop the damage. Charles sat with one hand near his glass, staring at the place Catherine had left empty. That empty chair mattered because it turned a private wound into a public symbol, and everyone in the room understood the danger. Aides moved quickly, guiding conversations away from the senior table and softening the broken rhythm of the evening. An aide, in simple terms, is a trusted royal staff member who handles private instructions, schedules, and sensitive moments before they become public problems. But this problem had already stepped beyond quiet management. William approached his father near the edge of the room, and the prince carried anger like a blade kept inside its cover. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. Charles looked at him and saw the warning in his son's face before any words were spoken. The future king wanted one thing made clear. Catherine's position could not be treated like a favor that could be withdrawn when Camilla wanted attention. Camilla stood apart with controlled dignity, but the room had already shifted against her. The queen consort waited for someone senior to move, to smooth the moment, to guide her forward as if nothing had happened. No one did. That silence hurt more than open rejection, because it told Camilla that her arrival had not created power. It had created exposure. She had entered expecting the room to adjust. Instead, the room held its breath and watched Charles. Charles knew every option carried weight. If the king defended Camilla, he would deepen Catherine's humiliation and risk William's fury. If he defended Catherine too clearly, he would leave the queen consort isolated in front of guests who could read every flicker of royal discomfort. The monarchy depends on control, because control makes private pain look like public stability. But that night, control was slipping through Charles's hands. Charles finally gave the order. He instructed an aide to confirm who had authorized Camilla's entry and whether the seating change had ever been approved. The answer came back in a low voice, and it landed like ice. No final written approval existed. The king looked toward Camilla, then toward the empty chair, and understood the scale of what had been done. Charles made the quietest decision of the night. He told staff to keep the evening moving without changing Catherine's place. No announcement, no dramatic command. Yet the message was brutal. Camilla would not be moved forward, Catherine would not be replaced, and the room would know exactly why. That verdict did not end the crisis. It merely pushed the damage into corridors, phone calls, and private rooms where the fallout began before the gala had even finished. After Catherine left, the most powerful presence at Windsor was not a person. It was an empty chair. Guests tried not to look at it. Aides tried to move around it. Camilla tried to ignore it. But the vacant place near the senior table became the symbol no palace statement could control. Catherine had removed herself from the room, and by doing so, she forced everyone else to reveal themselves. Camilla sat apart for several minutes after Charles refused to change the seating. The queen consort kept her posture steady, but her face had tightened in a way no smile could soften. The gala continued outwardly, with voices lowered and glasses lifted at the right moments, but the emotional order of the evening had collapsed. A palace statement, in simple terms, is an official message used to explain or calm public concern. Yet no statement could erase what too many witnesses had seen with their own eyes. Catherine had walked out, and Camilla had remained exposed. William stayed in the main room only long enough to understand the scale of the damage. The prince saw aides redirecting guests, saw Charles speaking quietly to staff, saw Camilla waiting for support that did not come. Every polite exchange now carried Catherine's absence inside it. The gala had been designed to prove unity after weeks of strain, and that mattered because royal unity is not only personal comfort, it is public trust. When that trust cracks in front of guests, every whispered reaction becomes part of the crisis. Catherine stood near a closed door in a quiet side corridor when William found her. She was breathing carefully, holding herself together with the kind of discipline that looked calm only from a distance. The princess did not cry in public. She would not give Camilla that victory, and she would not give Windsor another scene to manage. William approached slowly, and the future king softened the moment he saw her face. Catherine told him the issue was no longer one chair, one table, or one evening. It was the repeated attempt to make her position feel conditional, as if her dignity could be tested whenever someone wished to remind her that acceptance inside the family still had limits. William listened, and his anger changed shape. It became quieter, more dangerous. He told her Charles had asked for the authorization trail, meaning the record of who approved Camilla's entry and whether proper permission had existed. Catherine understood at once that the king now knew a serious boundary had been crossed. Catherine did not ask William to fight for her. That made the moment heavier. She asked him to tell the truth, not loudly, not cruelly, clearly. William looked back toward the gala doors and knew that request would change everything, because the next moment would not belong to aides, seating plans, or palace protocol. It would belong to two people speaking without armor, without witnesses, and without escape. The loudest royal moments often happen in silence, not beneath chandeliers, not before cameras, not in rooms full of titles and expectations. The turning point came behind a closed door, where Catherine and William stood alone after the gala had fractured around them. No aides softened the language, no courtier shaped the response. For the first time that night, there was only hurt, loyalty, and truth. Catherine stepped into the private sitting room, as if the air outside had become too heavy to breathe. William followed her, but he did not rush her, because he knew this was the first space that night where she did not have to perform strength for anyone. A private sitting room, in simple terms, is a smaller royal room used for personal conversations away from guests and formal duties. That mattered, because the gala floor had demanded composure, while this room allowed honesty. Catherine no longer had to protect the comfort of people who had just watched her dignity tested. William stood near the back of a chair and placed one hand on it instead of pacing. The prince was angry, but he forced himself still because Catherine needed steadiness, not another storm. She looked at him and admitted what the uninvited arrival had truly done to her. It had not simply embarrassed her. It had made her feel replaceable, as though her place beside William could be questioned in public and then covered with a polite smile. Catherine's voice carried sadness more than anger, and that made the confession harder to hear. She told William that returning to the gala would protect the appearance of unity, but it would also reward the reality of disrespect. The princess understood the monarchy needed calm, yet she also understood that calm built on humiliation was not peace. It was surrender, dressed as duty. William listened without interrupting. The future king knew every word mattered, because this was no longer about Camilla alone. It was about whether silence had become the price Catherine was expected to pay for belonging. William told her that if the monarchy demanded silence at the expense of dignity, then silence itself had become the problem. The words did not sound dramatic. They sounded final. Catherine did not ask for revenge. She did not ask William to attack Camilla, embarrass Charles, or turn the gala into a battlefield. She asked for one thing: truth. The princess would not re-enter the room just to make others comfortable. William accepted that decision, and in accepting it, he chose her boundary over the palace's need for a perfect ending. The decision was simple, but it changed the night. Catherine would not return, and William would make sure her absence was understood as a boundary, not a breakdown. By morning, that boundary would no longer be private, because the image of Catherine leaving Windsor had already escaped the palace walls. By sunrise, the palace no longer owned the story. The gala that was meant to project unity had become the headline that exposed division. Windsor's polished walls could contain conversations, but they could not contain the image now moving through the public imagination. Catherine leaving with her head high, Camilla standing behind her, and the monarchy caught between sympathy, shock, and judgment. Catherine woke to a storm she had not created but could no longer avoid. Her silence had become louder than any statement, and that mattered, because the public had already decided her walkout was not weakness. It looked controlled. It looked wounded. It looked deliberate. Morning broadcasters framed the incident as a rare visible rupture between the Princess of Wales and the Queen Consort, a title that simply means the wife of the king, without the ruling power of the monarch himself. That explanation only made the contrast sharper. Catherine represented the future. Camilla represented the contested present. Camilla faced the morning with far less sympathy. The Queen Consort had entered Windsor expecting presence to become power, but the public reading was harsher than the palace feared. Commentators focused on the symbolism of her uninvited arrival, because Catherine's role at the gala had already been established. The question was no longer whether Camilla had a right to attend royal events. The question was why she appeared at that moment, in a way that seemed to challenge another woman's place. Charles watched the coverage with a stillness that unsettled the room around him. The king understood that palace communications teams were preparing careful language about private family matters, but those words felt too small for what people believed they had seen. Palace communications means the official team that shapes public messages when the royal family faces pressure. Yet the clearer the event looked, the weaker careful wording became. Catherine had left. Camilla had stayed. William had stood between loyalty and fury. The public needed no translation. One front page captured the mood with brutal simplicity. A London newspaper showed Windsor's illuminated gates beneath the headline, "The Empty Seat," with a smaller caption reading, "Kate leaves gala after Camilla arrival." The image traveled quickly, because it gave the public one symbol for everything the palace wanted softened. Outside Windsor Castle, a small crowd gathered near the gates, some holding phones, others speaking in low voices about whether Catherine's walkout marked a new line inside the family. William understood what Charles now had to face. The prince knew the public had not merely watched a family disagreement. They had judged which version of monarchy felt more honorable. Catherine had offered no speech, yet her absence had become the clearest message of the crisis. And once that judgment became clear, the final meaning of the night could no longer be hidden behind palace language or ceremonial calm. In the end, the Windsor Gala was not remembered for its jewels, music, speeches, or guest list. It was remembered for a woman standing up when staying seated would have meant accepting humiliation. Catherine's walkout did not weaken the monarchy. It exposed the difference between loyalty and submission, and in that difference, the entire royal family was forced to confront what dignity truly costs. Catherine became the center of the story because she refused to make pain look graceful for the comfort of others. The crisis had begun with one unmistakable act. Camilla arrived uninvited, challenged the emotional order of the evening, and tried to step into a place already understood as Catherine's. The Windsor Gala mattered because it was meant to show royal unity, a simple public picture of family strength after private strain. Instead, it showed the cost of ignoring respect. Camilla's arrival failed because it exposed the very thing it was meant to prove. The Queen Consort could enter a room, but she could not command trust from it. Her uninvited presence was not just a mistake of timing. It carried the weight of earlier private remarks, seeding tensions, and unresolved questions about Catherine's standing. A guest list, in plain terms, is the approved record of who may attend an event and where they belong. When that list was ignored, the insult became impossible to hide. William's loyalty became clear in the silence after Catherine left. The prince did not drag her back into the room to protect appearances. He did not ask her to smile through humiliation or pretend the evening had not changed. Instead, William understood that unity without dignity is not strength. It is surrender. His choice mattered because the future king was showing the monarchy what kind of loyalty would shape its next chapter. Charles's quiet decision carried its own verdict. The king did not alter Catherine's place. He did not move Camilla forward. He allowed the empty chair to remain exactly where it was, and that choice told the room a boundary had been crossed. Charles may have hesitated, but even he understood that power without trust can enter a palace and still leave colder than it arrived. Catherine's final victory came from restraint. She did not shout. She did not accuse. She did not collapse. The princess simply removed herself with enough force to make silence impossible. That was why the night changed the monarchy. It proved that dignity would no longer be sacrificed just to protect a perfect image. There is no unresolved mystery left at Windsor. The meaning of that night is clear. Catherine walked out of a gala, but she walked into a stronger place in the monarchy's future. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.